My name is Elena, and I was 38 when I became a widow. That night, my father-in-law unexpectedly walked into my house with a key he should never have had, and I finally understood why my husband had warned me. If anything happens to me, never trust my father. I thought Daniel was being cautious. I had no idea those words would change everything. Victor did not knock. He unlocked my front door, stepped into the kitchen, and looked around as if he already owned my home. "Your husband is gone," he said. "You need to accept that this house belongs with the family now." I gripped the counter. Victor didn't know I had photographed the key, saved security footage, and hidden Daniel's final recording. I also had a blue envelope Daniel had warned me never to lose. I just didn't know why it mattered yet, or what it would reveal. 11 years earlier, Daniel and I had built our life slowly. He owned a small renovation company, and I worked as a bookkeeper. We weren't wealthy, but every room carried something we had chosen together. Daniel painted the kitchen walls himself. I planted a lemon tree beside the window. We argued about money and planned to grow old there. His father, Victor, seemed impressive to everyone else. He was charming, successful, and generous at family gatherings. After Daniel's funeral, Victor became unusually helpful. He brought food, offered to handle paperwork, and told relatives that grief had made me incapable of making financial decisions. At first I believed him. Then he asked for Daniel's property documents. I refused. His smile disappeared for half a second. "You're grieving, Elena," he said. "Let me protect what my son built." 3 days before Daniel died, he held my hand in this same kitchen and whispered, "If Dad asks about the blue envelope, don't give it to him." I laughed and asked why. He only said, "Trust me." After the funeral, I searched my desk. The envelope was gone. I thought I had misplaced it. Then Victor arrived with a lawyer and claimed Daniel had promised him my house. I asked for proof. Victor leaned closer. "You're a widow? Elena, don't make this harder than it has to be." That was when fear became suspicion, and I still didn't know the missing envelope contained the first clue to why Daniel had feared his own father. The next morning I changed every lock in the house, but I could not change the feeling that Victor had already found a way inside my life. At 7:12 a.m., my phone rang. "You are making this harder than it needs to be," he said. "I am making my home secure," I answered. He paused. "It was never yours alone." That sentence stayed with me because Daniel had transferred the house to me years earlier, and I had watched him sign them. So why was Victor suddenly acting as though ownership was negotiable? I believed he was only bluffing. That was my first mistake. Over the next few days, Victor appeared everywhere. He visited Daniel's office and quietly told employees that I was emotionally unstable. He called the bank asking questions about accounts he had no authority to access. At family dinners, he spoke softly about my grief, carefully planting the idea that I could not handle my affairs. His daughter, Marissa, defended him. "He is only trying to help." Daniel's cousin Owen said nothing. His silence bothered me. Then, one rainy afternoon, I found a photograph beneath my windshield wiper. It showed Daniel outside an unfamiliar warehouse with Victor. On the back, someone had written 5 words. "Ask why Daniel was there." My hands went cold. I almost called Victor. Instead, I called Sam, Daniel's oldest employee. When I mentioned the warehouse, he became quiet. "What did Daniel tell you?" I asked. Sam took a breath. "He told me that if you ever asked about that place, I should give you something." The next evening, Sam arrived with a flash drive. Daniel had left it with him 6 weeks before his death. He said Victor might come after the property, Sam explained, but he never told me why. I wanted to open it. Sam stopped me. "Daniel also said you should watch it when you are calm." I almost laughed. I had not felt calm since the funeral. That night, I sat alone at the kitchen table in the dark with the flash drive in front of me. 11 files appeared on the screen. 10 were ordinary business records. The 11th was a video. Daniel appeared, tired and serious. "If you are watching this, something went wrong." Then he said a name I had never heard before, Northbridge Holdings. And suddenly I realized the house was only the beginning. I spent the next 2 days investigating Northbridge Holdings without telling Victor, but every answer created a more frightening question. The company looked legitimate on paper, yet Daniel's business had sent large payments there for months. Why had my husband hidden that from me? Why was Victor connected to it? And why had Daniel warned me only days before his death? I replayed his recording until I noticed something behind him. The old brass key Victor had used to enter my house. Daniel had once kept that key in a locked drawer. Suddenly, his strange warning made sense. The key was not sentimental. It opened something. That night, I searched our basement alone. Behind a loose wooden panel, I found a narrow metal box covered in dust. My hands shook before I even opened it. Inside were property deeds, bank statements, copies of emails, and handwritten notes in Daniel's unmistakable handwriting. The first note read, "Victor is moving money through Northbridge." The second said, "If I confront him, he will come after Elena." I sat on the basement floor, staring at those words. Daniel had known his father was dangerous, and he had been trying to protect me without telling me the truth. Then I found a loan agreement secured against my house. At the bottom was my signature. I had never signed it. I called Priya Shah, a lawyer recommended by Daniel's accountant. She examined the document and immediately became serious. "Do not contact Victor alone again," she said. "And do not move anything from that box." For the first time since Daniel died, my grief turned into anger. 3 days later, Victor arrived with a legal notice claiming I had defaulted on the loan and had 48 hours to leave. He stood on my porch with Marissa beside him. "You forged my name," I said. Victor barely blinked. "You cannot prove that." He was right. I had clues, but not enough to stop him. Then Priya called with worse news. The court had scheduled an emergency hearing. Before I could process it, another envelope arrived. Someone had reported me to social services, claiming I was emotionally unstable and incapable of managing the property. I stared at the notice, suddenly understanding Victor's real strategy. He did not simply want my house. He wanted everyone to believe I was too broken to fight for it. Or anyone would believe me. The hearing was scheduled for Friday, but Victor did not wait again. He called, leaving messages that sounded almost gentle. "Elena, stop fighting me. You are only hurting yourself." Marissa sent texts, accusing me of destroying the family. I ignored both, refusing to give them the reaction they wanted. Then Owen called. His voice was different this time, nervous and ashamed. "I should have told you earlier," he said. "Daniel asked me to watch Victor's office after he discovered Northbridge." My stomach tightened. "What did you see?" Owen hesitated. "Victor meeting a notary, before Daniel died." Then he sent me a photograph. It showed Victor, the notary, and Marissa standing around a desk. On the desk was the loan agreement carrying my supposed signature. I zoomed in. The date was 2 days before Daniel died, but the agreement claimed I had signed it 3 months later. That single detail could destroy Victor's story. I forwarded the photograph to Priya. "This changes things," she said, "but we need stronger evidence." Before I could ask what she meant, the social services investigator arrived. Her name was Ms. Reed. She asked about my finances, emotional state, and ability to maintain the house. I answered every question honestly, even when my hands trembled. Then her eyes landed on Daniel's blue envelope sitting inside my desk drawer. "Is that the envelope mentioned in your husband's recording?" she asked. I stared at her. "How do you know about that?" "Your lawyer mentioned it." Priya arrived minutes later, carrying news that made my heart race. "Elena, there was something inside the envelope." My hands shook as she placed a memory card on the table. We watched the recording together. Daniel appeared inside his car, speaking quietly into the camera. "Dad thinks the house is the only thing I discovered. It isn't." He explained that Victor had pressured him to falsify financial records and use properties as collateral. Daniel had refused. Then came the sentence that broke me. I made copies because I know he will deny this. He named accounts, property numbers, and a witness. The witness was Owen, the cousin who had stayed silent for weeks. Then Daniel revealed why he had stayed silent. Victor had threatened to ruin me financially if Daniel exposed him. I covered my face, fighting tears as Daniel's voice filled the room. My husband had not been distant during his final weeks. He had been terrified. But Victor still had a weapon left, and he was about to use it in court against me. The courtroom was silent when Owen took the stand, and I could feel Victor watching me from across the room. He looked confident again, as if he had convinced himself that one last performance could erase everything. Owen described Victor's meeting with the notary and identified the photograph showing my supposedly signed loan agreement. Then Priya presented the forensic report. The examiner explained that my Signature had been copied from an older document and digitally altered. The date on the agreement was impossible because the notary's records placed the signing 2 days before the document claimed it happened. Victor's lawyer tried to object, but the evidence was already on the record. Then Marissa was called. She looked at her father for several seconds before speaking. "I thought he was protecting the family," she said quietly. Victor immediately shook his head. "Marissa, stop." She looked at him through tears. "I know what I saw," she admitted, carrying documents from his office and confirmed that Victor had asked her to organize papers connected to Northbridge. The room seemed to shrink around him. The judge ordered the suspected fraud records preserved and referred the matter for formal investigation. Victor's claim against my house collapsed. He turned toward me, his face hard. "You think you won?" he asked. I looked directly at him. "No, I think the truth finally got a chance to speak. The forged loan was invalidated, and my ownership of the house was confirmed. Victor faced the consequences through the proper legal process. Marissa apologized afterward, but forgiveness did not erase what happened. Neither did winning the case immediately make my home feel safe. For weeks, I checked the locks twice before sleeping. Then one Saturday morning, I found the old brass key on the kitchen table. I almost threw it away. Instead, I placed it beside Daniel's blue envelope. Those objects had once represented secrets and fear. Now they represented the truth Daniel had tried to leave behind. I repainted the kitchen that spring and planted herbs beside the window. Months later, I stood at the front door and locked it. This time I smiled. I was not helpless. I had simply been grieving. There is a difference. Daniel had left me more than a house. He had left me evidence, courage, and the strength to stand alone. The house was finally quiet, but for the first time, quiet did not mean danger. It meant peace, and that was the home I had been fighting to keep.